Well, hello everyone, and to continue the look at the Bernina B735, which is a 7 series, and as I said, it has 10 inches here. The only bigger one is the 880, which is an older machine. This has the standard Bernina jumbo bobbins, which is great. This is the home screen, and I want to go through show you the interface. There are tons of in-depth videos, but I just wanted to show you some of the things that I like. So we're going to go into the sewing, and I've been embroidering, so it wants me to raise my feed dogs. And I just want to show you, it has the standard needle up, down, your tension settings, your needle, your presser foot. You use this to set your presser foot. This machine, as I have said, is partly automated and partly manual. And one of the beauties I like about the Bernina machines is you can fake it out and do things that you can't do with other machines. And like, you set your foot, and even though I have the 26 foot in, let me go off the straight stitch plate, and I have the 26 foot in, which is a single hole foot. If I go back to my stitches, I can actually do a zigzag up to 1.5 millimeters wide. Most automated machines, like my FAF, my old Janome, if I told it I was using straight stitch. Now see, if I turn this to a straight stitch plate and I go back out, I still have access to my 1.5 millimeter wide, because that needle can move within the hole of that straight stitch 1.5 millimeters. And this allows you to do a lot of really controlled things, like micro applique stitches to get a faux hand look. It gives you a lot of power. But when you're automated, and like I said, my FAF and my Janome, if I put the straight stitch plate, all the zigzag stitches were unavailable. It locked them out for security. And this machine allows you to do anything within the confines of your foot and your needle plate. And that's one of the things. Bernina calls it the total stitch control. And you have your presser foot pressure that you can adjust on the fly. Higher releases gives you less pressure on your feed dogs and your fabric. Lower gives you more. Then you have your straight stitch, your needle plates. This one only has the 5.5 and the straight stitch. My 9 millimeter machines have 9 millimeter, 5.5, and straight stitch, 0 millimeter needle plate, and so on. But also, what is really great about this machine is it allows you to select the needle that you're using. And depending on what needle you're using, it also confines you. But you can control it. But like, I'm using a single needle, so I press it. But if I come over here, it gives me all these different types of needles, and they're different sizes. And depending on what needle you're using, it will actually adjust your auto tension and everything for the best needle. So if you're using a finer needle, your tension will be just a little bit different than if you're using a larger needle. Very, 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 very unique, which I really like. And then, of course, the stitches are live. This is the 1.5 millimeter stitch, and it's 1.5 millimeters in length. I can record stitches, or I can add different stitches by pressing the plus, and that allows you to do combination stitches and things like that. And then you have your standard utility stitches, which I use. I use a straight stitch probably 95% of the time. You have your decorative stitches, and you have menus upon menus upon menus of these stitches. This machine does not have thousands of stitches like my 590 does, because it's 5.5 millimeter, which limits things. But you have your alphabets, so you can sew a quilt label or whatever. You have your buttonholes, and that is a unique thing, because once you select your buttonhole and you put on your automatic buttonhole foot, it gives you a circle here, and you just put your button on the screen, and then you enlarge the circle until it covers, it just shows the outside of the button. So it measures the button for you. It's amazing. But then I use the quilt menu a lot, which has all your quilting stitches. This one doesn't have as many. There's only one screen, but it has your basic applique stitches, your quilting stitches, everything that you would need. And then, of course, you can save your combinations or your settings, and when you save this, it remembers the presser foot, it remembers the needle plate, it remembers the tension, it remembers everything. It is just really great. But it also has this feature, and these are the last 15 stitches that you've used with the settings that you use. So like if you're working on a project and you go from a satin stitch to a straight stitch back to a satin stitch, you can use this. It remembers the last 15 stitches, which is, I think, really cool. One of the other features this machine has is, if we go back here, I'm going to go to the zigzag, and we go to the information, we can do a stitch record where, like, if we're doing a satin stitch or something, we can tell it how many millimeters we want the satin stitch to go. So I can set it to 25 millimeters, which is an inch, and it will sew that inch and stop, which is really, really nice. And you have your total stitch, your control of flipping it horizontally or vertically. You have your choice. You have your balance. You have your triple stitch here, which means that it will go forward, back, forward, making your stitch more defined. That is available on any stitch, any decorative stitch. You have your reverse lock. You have your save. If you press this save, every time you go back to the stitch, it's going to remember these settings. And I have mine set, like I'm going to use this as an example. We're going to go back to the straight stitch here. See, I have my straight stitch set at a 4/0, 0, and 1.8 millimeters. That is my preferred stitch for piecing. But if you notice, I have it saved here. So when I turn on the machine, it will always remember that setting for me. so I don't have to adjust it every time. And the standard, I think, was 5.6 and a 2 millimeter straight stitch, something like that. But that's not my preferred. So it allows you to permanently save a change, and every stitch allows you to make this permanent save. If you're doing a special project and you want to save it, but it not as a permanent for that stitch, you can put it back in your heart menu, which is for your personal choices. And Bernina's not big on words. This is take something out of a folder, this is to put something in, and this is to delete something. And they're not, like I said, not big on words. But the interface, once you learn it, is pretty straightforward. This is your balance, which allows you to adjust the way your stitches look. Like when I do my faux hand look turned edge applique, I use a really modified blanket stitch, and it's basically a blind hem where a blind hem does 2 or 3 stitches down and then does a tick. This one does a tick, stitch, tick, stitch. And that's the modification. And the balance, what it does is take the blanket stitch and separates it into a V. And again, the total stitch control. And if we go back to the quilting menu, you will see all these different blanket, applique, crazy stitches, everything. And it's enough for me. I mean, because I basically use a straight stitch and a satin stitch and a blanket stitch. That is 98% of my sewing. I very, very rarely use a decorative stitch. But these machines are so powerful this day and time, and this interface is absolutely incredible. So, want to wish everyone a great day, and as I get off of showing you the Bernina that I got, we'll go back to doing things the old way. Even though I have all this fancy stuff, I really find it interesting that I default back to the old ways that my grandmother taught me. So everyone have a good one, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.